Today on Larry King Now, it's Jason Schwartzman on his latest role in the awards contender Saving Mr. Banks.
I remember seeing the screening going, hey, this is like a movie where I don't have to call all my friends and say, hey, there's a movie that I'm in that's coming out. They'll say, I saw that guy up on the screen and I thought, I gotta be up there. Well, I never had that feeling as a kid. I never thought, I have to be up there. I never thought I really could be up there. It just seems so much larger than life.
Plus, becoming so super that you would not return to this show.
Glendale is never too far away from me.
That's all ahead on Larry King Now.
Literally all ahead on Larry King.
Welcome to Larry King Now. Pleasure to have as our special guest Jason Schwartzman, the actor, writer, musician who does it all. You know him from such films as Moonrise Kingdom and the HBO series Bored to Death, but he'll forever be remembered as Max Fisher, the ambitious high schooler with chutzpah in Wes Anderson's Rushmore. Now he stars as the musical legend Richard Sherman in Saving Mr. Banks, which is sure to be Oscar bait when it hits theaters this holiday season. I met Tom Hanks many times, saw him in New York in a play, and at the end of the play he told me, you're going to love this movie, Saving Mr. Banks. He plays Walt Disney, a dead person. You play a living person.
You know Richard, right?
Yeah, I know Richard. I know Bob, but Bob died.
Yeah.
But I know Richard. In fact, we had a little house party. My father-in-law knows him better, worked with him. We had a house party where Richard played all the music from all the songs, talked about working with Disney, did like a one-man stand in his house.
Oh, it's so amazing. No, he's
How old is he now?
87, I believe. He's just, he's the most vibrant, optimistic, wonderful man I've ever come across. And he was so kind to me. In fact, he let me come to his house anytime I wanted to. In preparation for the role, and he would entertain me. You know, I would sit, we would talk for hours, then we would go to the piano, and he taught me how to play all of the songs.
Isn't it hard to play someone who's
Yeah, I mean, I think it's. I was very nervous going into it because he is a legend, you know, and I wanted to. I felt responsible to portray him correctly, and I was quite nervous, but he said the greatest thing to me when I went to his house. He said actually two things that made it feel less daunting. One was, he said, don't worry, I've already done everything, so you just be you doing the things that I did. That was very nice. And then the other thing he said was, just love music and you'll be all right. And, you know, obviously I think it is more complicated than that, but those were really nice things to say to me because the idea behind it was just relax, and that made me feel nice.
He did the music and Bob did the lyrics, right?
Yeah, it's interesting though because I saw an interview with him and his brother Bob, and they said, what comes first, lyrics or music? And they said neither, the idea. And they said that they would sit there for hours and hours and hours talking about what the song needed to be and what purpose it served in the movie. And I think that's why those songs are so deeply rooted in us, is because they are beyond words and beyond music. They are communicating something more profound.
You have to be a genius to come up with supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
You do, I know.
There's no other word for that.
I know, there isn't.
You play the piano, you sing in the film, right?
Yeah, well, John Lee Hancock, who's the director of the movie, his thing that he said to me when we first met was, I would like you to try to learn all the songs as best as possible, and I'd like to play them live in the room as much as possible. Some things will have to be to playback, but the reason he said that was because, well, two reasons. One is he said inevitably you will make some errors and hit some wrong notes, which I want in the movie. And second of all, a lot of the scenes where I'm playing the piano and where Bob is next to me and we're singing, we're sort of selling our songs to P.L. Travers, who's played by Emma Thompson, and she is having many issues with us. She doesn't want the movie to be a musical, and she's cutting us off all the time. And John Lee Hancock felt that if the songs were done to playback, then Emma would be having to cut us off at the same place every time, and it wouldn't feel natural. So he said, if you can learn the songs, then you just play them and she will cut you off whenever she feels like it's necessary. And so what I did was I went out and I bought a Mary Poppins songbook, and I started to sort of learn the songs based on that. But it was pretty clear early on that, like, a songbook, for the most part, is sort of like a novelization is to a movie. It's someone has listened to the final score and they've transcribed it and then sort of like distilled it into, they've taken all the arrangements and put it into something that you could play, you know, if you're having like a Mary Poppins themed party, I guess, at your house, you can play all the songs for people. But it wasn't true to the way that Richard Sherman would have been playing the songs at this time. And so I asked Richard, I said, Richard, what do I do? These songs, you know, it doesn't sound like you. And he gave me all of his demos for the movie, which is amazing, because I love demos as well. I love interviews, demos. He gave me his demos, and he gave me all the hours of the recorded conversations with P.L. Travers, because they were all on tape, as she insisted. And I took the tapes, and then I gave them to my piano teacher, this guy named Elmo Peeler, and he spent a week transcribing all of the songs as they were played on in these rough versions. And then I learned those versions, and really, it's not like, haha, I learned these versions of this, like, to be cool or something. I mean, I guess that isn't even that cool. That shows you how dorky I am. Like, haha, I learned the original versions. But it was for two reasons. One, it helped me, I think, get into the character of Richard, because, like, if you're playing Walt Disney, for instance, Tom Hanks, it was very necessary that he have the accent of Walt Disney. So I guess in my way, this is sort of the accent of Richard Sherman. And the other thing is, Richard was on set every day, and I wanted just for him to know that the songs were being played correctly. Because he was, you know, I was just more like sort of a respect, out of respect for him.
And also, you're a perfectionist.
Yeah. Sometimes, not really, you know, but it was so nice. And Richard we had so much fun together when I went to his house. Like, he said the first time I went to his house, he said, play the piano for me. And I said, Mr. Sherman, I don't play like you. And he said, just play, because it will help me get to know you. And for the next half hour, we just went back and forth showing each other songs that we liked, Beatles songs, Beach Boys songs. I said to him, I'm so sorry, Mr. Sherman. I'm just really, I know we're just dorking out right now on all of these chord progressions. And he said, are you kidding me? I could dork out with you all afternoon.
Let me get a break.
It was wonderful.
Coming up, Hollywood runs in his blood. We'll talk about Jason's revered family of filmmakers. You're going to learn a lot here. Don't go away.
Am I talking too much?
No.
Okay.
We're back with Jason Schwartzman. Saving Mr. Banks is the story of the making of Mary Poppins. Travers wrote it. Disney produced it. They did a lot at Disneyland, right?
Yeah, we shot at Disneyland. Well, I'm not in those scenes. Tom Hanks is, and apparently it was pretty amazing to shoot there. They said that it had to be like military-type precision, because they only had so many minutes before the park opened. But we shot many of our scenes on the Disney lot, because in fact it's still as it was in 1961. They've added a few things, but most of it's unchanged. And in fact, I play music, and I've put out some records, but I'm not a natural singer at all. And when I read the script, the one thing that was like the biggest fear in it was that I would have to sing, you know, aloud to these people constantly all day long. But one particular scene is, let me just catch this thing floating in the air. I had to sing, there's like a part where I sing Feed the Birds just to Walt Disney, played by Tom Hanks. And that was like highlighted in my calendar as a very scary day.
That was one of my favorite songs in the movie.
Really?
It made me cry all the time.
Walt Disney's favorite song, and Richard told me a great thing, which is that Walt Disney loved it so much that he would have the boys, who Richard and Bob, that's what they called them, the boys, come to his office on Friday afternoon, like 5 or 6 o'clock at night, and Walt Disney would have his favorite drink, which was a Scotch mist, which is crushed ice and Scotch, and they would talk and catch up, and then he would say, all right, play it, Richard. And then Richard would play Feed the Birds for Walt every Friday. And then Richard told me that after Walt passed away, he still went to the office at 5 or 6 o'clock for a few years and sang Feed the Birds in Walt's office.
All right, let's get into your family.
Okay.
Your mother is?
The the best person in the world. Sorry. Her name is Talia Shire, Schwartzman.
Who played Rocky's wife, right?
Yes.
In the first Rocky with Stallone.
Yeah.
She was in The Godfather.
Yes. Al Pacino's sister, Connie Corleone.
Yeah.
Connie Corleone.
So your uncle is...
Francis Ford Coppola.
So you grew up around all this. You almost had to be in the business, right? I mean, what, were you going to be a plumber?
Well, yeah, maybe. I mean, actually, the truth is that my mom loves movies deeply, old movies, old musicals, but she's not a Hollywood, like, she never was part of, like, she didn't, you know, very much of a homebody and stuff, and we weren't really, she actually made a real point, like, we never were raised on sets. I never was a kid on set. I grew up at a time where I feel like it was, you know, a lot of actors, I hear them or see in interviews, they'll say, I saw that guy up on the screen and I thought, I gotta be up there. Well, I never had that feeling as a kid. I never thought, oh, I have to be up there. I never thought I really could be up there. It just seems so much larger than life. It's like Lethal Weapon and, you know, Kindergarten Cop, Ghostbusters, whatever. And music, I think I gravitated to earlier on because it felt more private. But no, I didn't feel like I had to be in the business at all.
So how did you start?
I got into it. How it happened was my grandfather was a film composer and a musician named Carmine Coppola. And in 1997, my uncle Francis had a party to celebrate a score that he had done for his movie Napoleon. And it was in San Francisco, and I was 16 and a half, 17, and I was in Los Angeles making a record, actually, with my band. And I flew to San Francisco with my mom to go to this party to hear the music of the score. And there was a casting director there who lived in San Francisco who was working on the movie Rushmore, which at that point, as I later came to find out, had different casting directors and scattered amongst many cities in America. And this casting director knew my cousin Sophia, and they were just chatting about what they were each up to. And my cousin said, what are you up to now? And she said, I'm casting this movie Rushmore, but we're having a hard time finding the lead. And Sophia said, well, what is it? And she said, oh, it's about a kind of a precocious 16-year-old who's eccentric and into older women and all this stuff. And she said, oh, that sounds like kind of like my cousin Jason. And she said, oh, really? Yeah, and he's right over there. And I was at the party, and I had rented a tuxedo with tails, a coat and tails, and I had, you know, because I was kind of a clown. And anyway, I met the woman, this casting director, and she said, would you like to, I'm a casting director named Davia Nelson. I'm casting for a movie Rushmore. Would you like, I think you could be this part. Would you like to audition for it? And I said, you're wasting your time. I'm not an actor. And she said, you should come and audition. You know, it'd be really fun. So I did audition, and in fact, it was the first script I'd ever read in my life. I'd never been to an audition, and I made like an outfit that looked like the main character's outfit in the movie because I called the casting office and I said, my name is Jason Schwartzman, I'm coming in on Friday. What do you wear to an audition? And she said, just wear whatever makes you feel comfortable, which to me, I'm never gonna feel comfortable because it was, you know. So I just made this crazy outfit, and my idea was, I'm not gonna get the part in this movie, but it's gonna be a great experience. And I remember like walking into this casting thing and seeing all these other like professional kid actors, and we just sitting in a room with them, and they looked like they were just like little killers. Anyway, but I auditioned, and then I got a call back, and then I got a third call back, and then I got the part, yeah.
He got the lead and made him a household name. We'll be right back.
A small household, I mean, a small house, apartment, a smaller apartment.
We're back with Jason Schwartzman. He, of course, is one of the stars of Saving Mr. Banks. He plays the legendary, still alive, Richard Sherman, who, along with his brother, wrote all the music for the Disney movies and the movie Saving Mr. Banks. You're going to be in a major hit here.
I don't know about, who knows about that, but I will tell you, I remember seeing the screening going, hey, this is like a movie where I don't have to call all my friends and say, hey, there's a movie that I'm in that's coming out. Like, yeah. People, this is the first time I've been like, yeah, I'm in this movie called Saving Mr. Banks. People, oh, yeah, I know that.
You have a solo music act called Coconut Records?
Yeah, Coconut Records. It was just like I wanted to come up with a name that didn't sound like a band, because I just want it to be more I've always been a fan of the band named Quicksilver Messenger Service, the band from the '60s, because it seemed like it could be anything. So I want it to be just Coconut Records, so it could be just more like a film studio or
Music
something.
is your first love?
Yeah, and it is. And as I said earlier, there's just something very private about it. And whereas acting is and being on movies, I love movies. I love it all. I love just being trying to be a part of as much as I can. Music, the thing that I do love about it is that it is, especially now with technology, it's so portable that you can really be doing it anywhere. So it just feels good to do. If I go on a trip, you can bring a keyboard with you that's this big, and at night, at the end of the day, you can just mess around and play music.
Your mother must be very proud. Hey. What about the association with Wes Anderson? You've been 5 films with him, right?
Yeah.
Got another one coming, right?
Yeah.
Well, is it a chemistry the two of you have?
He is, well, technically he'd be my mentor. I mean, he met me on the audition for Rushmore, and he put me in Rushmore, he cast me. And he is my dearest friend. He is, and I've got my 3 best friends. I've been lucky enough that they've come from work situations, and he is I think we collaborate well together. We share similar sensibility, and we get along well, and he's my best friend. I mean, and I don't know why, but I'm just so happy for that friendship, and I think that it's made the work more and more fun to do, because I think in the beginning of working with anyone, you're really nervous.
When you call him quirky?
Would I call him quirky? I wouldn't call him quirky only because to me, so much of what he does, it's in line with what I find funny, and the things he observes in life are things that I'm like, oh, right, that is. I mean, I think I share a similar sensibility, so I'm too close to call him anything but great. And
what's his next movie?
Oh yeah, we have this one called The Grand Budapest Hotel, and I'm in it for a little bit, but it stars Ray Fiennes and Bill Murray, Edward Norton, Tilda Swinton, Willem Dafoe. It's a great It's a great movie. It's so funny, and I think that's the thing when I read when I read that script, I was laughing. I think more than anything, I'm a huge fan of Wes's, so it's an honor to work with him, even though I've worked with him many times now, and we are best friends. Then when we go to work, it's just it's an honor.
Are you used to seeing it, like when you see Saving Mr. Banks? What is it like when you see yourself up there?
I think it's like a combination of awkward, uncomfortable, and and I guess in this instance, a little bit fascinating, because I do have these scenes with Tom Hanks, and Tom Hanks is someone I grew up watching my whole life, and
That's
so there is a
mean.
fascinating thing where it's like, wow, I can't believe I'm really in that thing with Tom Hanks. And I mean, I remember just recently we were doing a press Q&A, and Tom Hanks was next to me, and he was talking to someone, and I looked down, I saw him his hands under the table, and he was kind of twiddling his thumbs, and I was thinking, wow, I'm looking at Tom Hanks doing something with his fingers right now, answering a question. This is a really rare.
He's a regular guy.
He is a regular guy.
He has no affectation at all.
At all.
At all.
It's incredible. In fact, I'm still trying to get used to he asked me a question recently, and my answer was 20 minutes long, I think, because I was so excited. He's like, how are you doing with that thing? Oh, great. Oh, I was driving, and there was a tornado, and blah. And then at the end, I was thinking, gosh, did he really want to know? But I think he does. I think it's true. He's fascinated, and he's interested in everybody, and he's the kindest man ever.
He did that great Nora Ephron play in New York.
Yeah.
And I went backstage, and he was doing this play for 4 months. It was sold out. And the first thing he sees is, Larry, take some pictures. We got to send it out on Twitter.
Wow.
And he's like a regular, he was excited
I know,
about taking Twitter pictures.
B.J. Novak, who plays my brother in the movie, said to me, he goes, I anticipated him being the nicest guy, but what I didn't realize was the thing that happens when I'm with him is I feel like when we go home at the end of the day that our lives are also the same. And he said he realized it because he said to him when we were making the movie, where are you going to watch the Oscars this year? Thinking you're going to watch it at someone's house? And he's like, when I got home, I realized he's probably going to be at the Oscars. It was really funny.
You recorded a lot at Capitol Records, huh?
Yeah, we recorded a lot of the music in two places. One place is Vox Studios, and a lot at Capitol Records, which was a real thrill.
When you were a kid, I mean, Capitol Records must have been the building.
Yeah, to me it still is. In fact, my favorite, one of my favorite stretches of driving in Los Angeles is the 101 freeway when you're near Vine and you can see all of the buildings and especially Capitol Records. It's something that just every time I look at and it just kind of gives me goosebumps.
Good, interesting. I have fun working in there, right?
It was, for me, a dream come true.
In our final moments with Jason, he'll reveal the first girl he ever kissed. It's a game of If You Only Knew, and I have a feeling he'll remember. We'll be right back. Jason Schwartzman's our guest. Saving Mr. Banks is the new film. He was in a great television series on HBO, Bored to Death. It was so crazy, that series.
Thank you. It was...
That was wacky.
Jonathan Ames, who created that show, he's my other best friend in the world, and we met on that show, and he married my wife and I, in fact. He got ordained and married us, and that show was the greatest. Ted Danson, Zach Galifianakis. It's a thing where, lucky to say that those are my dearest friends. 3 years. And it was the best time. Going to work every day was.
That could be a movie.
They're trying to make it a movie right now. In fact, it's being worked on. Jonathan's writing it, so you never know how these things go, but let's hope.
What can you tell us up there? Asking about Mozart in the Jungle, a TV movie you wrote with Roman Coppola.
Yeah, Mozart in the Jungle is a show that Roman Coppola and Alex Timbers, who's a great New York playwright and director, the three of us wrote it. It's a show that we shot for Amazon, who are now making movies and shows, and it's based loosely based on a book called Mozart in the Jungle: Sex, Drugs, and Classical Music, and it's a show that sort of looks into the underbelly of the world of classical music in New York, and the symphony and the orchestra, and all the different levels of musicians and what it takes to sort of ascend in the world of classical music, and the highs and the lows, because I think growing up I was fascinated. You look at an orchestra and they're all in tuxedos, they all look so nice, and it has a sheen on it that looks like, well, this is very expensive, luxurious life. And in fact, it's not high paying for a lot of people, and it's extremely difficult. And some of those tuxedos are rented, but they're playing instruments that are worth, $1 million at times, and it was just very complicated. And I love the music, and so this opportunity came along to show the different facets of the world, and I love it. And we have a great cast: Malcolm McDowell, and this great actor Gael Garcia Bernal, and this new great actress named Lola Kirk, and Bernadette Peters is in it.
You're a busy man, Jason.
You know what? I'm not that busy. It's funny, as we're saying this stuff, I sound quite busy, but in fact, you wouldn't know it by the amount of sweatpants that I'm wearing.
Yeah. Okay, we will get into the little game If You Only Knew. These are quick questions, quick answers. All right, first kiss.
The first girl I kissed, her name was Jackie Temkin. That was in kindergarten. It was very quick. Where
was this? In here in Hollywood?
It was here in Los Angeles. I went to a school on Sepulveda. It was a Montessori school. She was the supply monitor that day. She was putting away glue sticks. I was sitting down, cross-legged on the rug. I had a big crush on her. We were all singing a song. I looked over at her. She was on the back end of the room. I thought, it's now or never. So I got up and I went. I tapped her on the shoulders. She was taller than me. I remember her turning around. I went on my tippy toes, zapped her with the kiss, and then walked away and just returned to the song.
You find out whatever happened to her?
Yes. She, in fact, years later, I used to be in a band called Phantom Planet. She dated the bass player in my band, Sam Farrar, for many, many years in the band. And I wouldn't say it was a love triangle, because my thing was very quick, but there were times where I felt like, remember?
Did she grow up tall?
Did she grow up tall?
Did she get tall?
We evened out. Okay. I caught up to her.
What's your favorite Mary Poppins tune?
Feed the Birds.
Mine, too. Dream collaborator, dead or alive?
Dream collaborator, oh my gosh, I can't even, I can't think of a collaborator. This is a collaboration that I have dreamed of.
Characteristic you value most in other people?
What do you call it when they are not easily offended? Like, I love it when someone just gets, they can take a joke and they are... Okay.
I don't know if there's a word for that. But
Yeah, I like that.
the characteristic, too. If you weren't an entertainer, what would you be?
An interviewer.
Yeah, you're on a desert island. What 3 things do you want with you?
All my music, a guitar, and I would say my family, but that would mean that they're with me stuck. So I would wish them well. So some music, a guitar, and a towel.
Biggest misconception about Hollywood?
That it's just about show business.
Because it's a lot more.
Yeah.
Favorite interviewer?
You.
Really?
Yeah. I grew up, this microphone here. This microphone, this is inside, I don't know.
Legendary, right?
To me, yes, it is. The RC, that's how I came to first know of the RCA 77.
This was my first mic years ago on radio.
That exact one?
No, but it's...
70s, yeah. So,
they don't make them in America anymore.
Yeah, so
there's no RCA anymore.
Is that right? Oh, my God.
Remember his master's voice.
Wow. Wow.
That's sad.
There you go. Well, that's a 77, and yeah, so this is a big one.
So supposing Saving Mr. Banks explodes, explodes, which it could, and you now become a major star, are you ready for that, Jason Schwartzman?
Yes. And no.
Becoming so super that you would not return to this show.
Glendale is never too far away from me.
Thank you, Jason.
I'll be here anytime. Cheers.
Feed the birds. Thanks to my guest, Jason Schwartzman. This film is Saving Mr. Banks, out in select theaters this Friday and nationwide December 20th. And you can find me on Twitter at King's Things. I'll see you next time.